All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning. How are we all doing today? All right. Yeah, welcome to today's lecture. And today's lecture, we are going to be solving the solutions together of the Python statement assessment that we're giving to you guys. So, if you know us and you have not tried out the assessment, what I will ask you to do is I want you to go to the video description below and you're going to see a link right there, right? So that link contains all the notebook of the assessment out without looking at the solutions first. All right. So now currently what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead to do the solutions together, and once we do the solutions together, I'm going to push the notebook to the top. Then you can go ahead and access the solution notebook. All right. So I want you guys to comment down below if you can hear me very well. All right. So with that being said, please and please, I encourage you to try out the assessment yourself first. Once you try it out yourself first, you're going to go through ups and downs, especially when it gets to the second and third question. But it's worth trying, right? And don't forget that the major aim of the assessment was not to get the answer, right? So the major aim was to test your problem solving skills, all right? I mean, good morning. How are you today? All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead to start the solution. All right. So I'm going to jump into my browser now, and I'm going to open my Jupyter notebook. All right. Yep. Good. Delight. What are you doing? All right. So yeah, this is my Jupyter notebook, and if you remember, if I open this, you'll notice that um this was the solution assessment that was given to you guys, right? Without the answer. Right? So what I'm going to do is okay, so let me okay, so I think so I'm going to go to my GitHub actually, my github.com. Then I'm going to go to um I'm going to go to Python programming tutorial, right? I think I need to download this again. Probably I messed it up or I changed something, right? So I'm going to download the assessment notebook again. What I'm going to do here is the assessment without the solution, right? I'm just going to come here and download. Right? So once I download it, I'm just going to move it right now. I'm click my right. Go to download. You might not see my screen right now, so just make sure you bear with us. Bear with me rather, and wait till I see that. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna go to documents. I'm gonna go to my Python programming tutorial. Um, right. So if I close this right now and I come here and I refresh, um, open this Python statements assessment, we should be good to go now. All right. So kindly confirm if you can see my screen from the comment section. All right. Very good. I hope you guys can see my screen right now. So yes, we're going to go ahead to this together. All right. Um. So as you can see, I've read the instruction. Basically, that's what is going to help you to understand how to approach the problem, right? Because it's very, very important. If you do not read the instruction, there's no how you're going to get what you were told to do. All right. Clearly, very well, nice. Thank you for confirming that. All right. You can see let's the question together and let's read the instructions also together, right? Because we're going to be doing it together. That's the important thing. So the very important thing that you need to do when you're given a particular problem to solve or a task to what you should do first is you should try to understand the problem statement, right? because if you understand what you're trying to solve, it's not how you're going to actually go ahead to solve it, right? That's basically it. All right. You can see here that first we that we're going to be working with if, elif, else, while, and for. Basically, these are the topics we've covered in our previous lecture. All right. So this is what you're going to be working with most, just to test your knowledge about what we've learned throughout the lecture. All right. So the important rules is number one. I advised you not to use AI tools, right? Because I said that major aim is not just the answer. If it was to get the answer, obviously just copy and paste in AI to give us the answer. Major aim is to test your problem solving skills, right? And I hope you guys were able to at least try a solution in the exercise, right? So if you were able to solve 3 of the questions, kindly drop 3. If you're able to solve 2, kindly drop 2. If we're able to solve 1, kindly 1. And if you know you just tried it out, right? If you know you tried it out and you were just here and there, just drop what you drop, just drop I tried, something like that, right? So drop I tried. So let me see how you guys basically approach this problem. All right. So the next is try as much as possible to write the code yourself. Obviously, and you are basically allowed to Google search. You're allowed to use Python documentation, your class notebook, and so forth. All right. So with that being said, remember I said the goal is to develop a problem solving skills, not just to answer. So first, let's start with exercise 1. So the first one is even or odd counter using for loop and if statement. All right. Let's read the text. I can see that Rashid is saying that he was able to solve 1. All right, very good. So so the first one is Python. Wow, all right, Amid. Nice. Okay, so first question is write a Python program that the user to enter a positive integer a, right? So basically, we know that we're going to be collecting input from the user, prompting the user to enter a number, right? So that's very, very important, right? So the next one is program. The program then prints all the number from 1 to n, right? So that means we're printing. So for example, if the user enters 10, we're printing 1 to 10. 10 is basically n. That's the n number that the user entered, right? So you also, for each number, it prints whether the number is even or odd. So for example, if the user enter 1 to 5, then it's 1 to 5, then it says okay, 1 is an even number, 2 is an odd number, sorry, 1 is an number, 2 3 is an odd number, is an even number, then 5 is an odd number, so on and so forth. So you get it, right? So it's basically just that whatever number that the user enter from 1 to 5, without the one even and odd number, right? So this one is pretty simple and straightforward. How we're going to see this is we're going to be using for loop, also going to be using the if statement. All right, so you can see get here that I can use a for loop to loop through the number 1 to n, and use the operator to check if a number is even or odd. All right, so let's do that together. All right, so the first thing is we need to collect input from the user. All right, but before we start that, I want to show you guys something interesting that you might have seen or you might have tried out when you were doing your own, right? It's something that's called root, right? So for example, if I say range into brackets 1, right? So let's say, can I print this out first? Okay, print won't work, right? But I wanted to show you guys something about, right? So what this range does it on is it takes, so for example, if I say range, okay, so let me just click shift tab right now. So let me do shift tab, escape. Let me show this is a code cell. It's a code cell. To shift tab. So let's quickly do a Google search since documentation is not showing, right? So let me just open a new tab and I'm going to reach in Python, right? So I'm supposed to get that, guys. So I'm not going to be filtering anything. All the Google search I'm doing, so we're going to be doing this, all right? So you can see, let's read this documentation together. Okay? So basically, what the does is the range function returns a sequence of number starting from 0 by default, right? In case you don't specify any start value. Yes. Somebody said she did one and precious. All right, that's good. So basically start from by default and increment by one, right? Right, and stops before a specified number. So let's read this together. So for example, I have start, stop, and step. So that means that when you give it range, right, you have to specify the start and stop. And there's also a third parameter that that specifies the step that you want to range by. All right. Good morning, Lady Black. All right. So from here, let's try and see what happens here. Right. Um, if you range to solve this exercise solution, also let me know in the comment section. So you can see right here, with range x is equals to range of what 3 to 6, and with for n in x n, right? So that means we are printing each value of n when it's ranging from 3 to 6, and you can see here that we have 3, 4, 5, and you can see that it's printing out 6. That's because obviously it stops at minus 1. So if you specify 5 here, obviously you should know that it's going to run from to 4. It's not going to print out 5, right? So let's wait for it to run. And what's going to, you can see 4. All right. So also you can specify, like, if I want to print out from like 1 to 10, that means I'm printing from 1 to 9, right? Obviously. But if I come back to the documentation, you can see 1 to 9 here, right? But if documentation that they said I can specify my step index, so we are not going to be using step index, but let me just tell you what the index does, right? So if I come here and I say, yeah, I'm going to pass in the third parameter or the third argument, I'm going to say 2 here rather. So what I'm saying is, I'm saying print from 1 to 10, right, and jump by 10. So it's going to start from 1, jump by 2 to the next, which is going to give us 3, 5, 9, right? So you can just play around, basically. So let me just zoom in for you guys. You can just play around with this range. We're going to be using this. So if you want to read more about, just research and you'll be good to go. So let's go back to our notebook, right? So that's one thing I wanted to guys first about range. So range basically allows you to loop from a number to another number, right? And it will be useful because we're going to use this to range 1 till the input that the user enters, right? So if it's 1 to whatever nth number the user enter, we're going to range from 1 then up to n. So we can use that range for a function. It's going to be useful for us here, right? So let's do that together. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come here, right, and I'm going to say n, right? So n is the number that the user is going to enter, right? So we're going to say int. Don't forget why we're specifying int. It's just to convert whatever input the user enters to an integer, right? So I'm going to say int input, then into parentheses, and I'm going to put the string right. Input is to collect number from the user, or collect prompt to prompt the user to enter something, basically, right? And you can see I'm just going to say enter a positive, right? Positive integer. I'm just going to put semicolon here, then space, just to format it very well, right? So I'm telling the user to enter any number from any positive integer, basically, right? So now I'm going to do next is we have to use for loop, right? So yeah, I'm just going to put a comment here. I'm going to say prompt the user to enter a number, or I can just say enter a positive integer, right? we all know that integers are whole numbers, right? So next is I'm going to be using for loop. Right? So I write a comment here, and by now you know that this comment does not get executed. It's just a way of explaining what you are trying to do for your users or for yourself, right? You come back to your code, you should be able to recall and collect work done, right? So that's why I like adding comments for you guys also. Basically, comment is also going to help you in case you revisit the notebook, right? If you want to revisit the notebook, you're going to see that, oh, this is what this particular code is talking about. It's going to be good to go. All right. So I can see that so let me just confirm that it's going well. Please kindly confirm from the chat if you can hear me very well. Okay, very good. So I can see we're good to go. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure that the video does not pause while we are currently working, right? So right now I'm going to go back to my Jupyter notebook right here. I'm going to say I'm going to loop through. Okay, Drish, thank you for the confirmation. I'm going to say loop through numbers from 1 to n, right? Don't forget n is whatever the user has, right? So I'm just going to come here and say for I. Remember how to use for loop very well, right? So I'm going to say for I, right, in range, and basically I is just going to represent each number as we are looping through it, right? So we can access the numbers at that current state by printing out I, right? So I'm going to say for I in range, obviously I'm going to say range 1 comma n plus 1, right? So why am I adding plus 1? So quickly, let's look at the exercise together, right? So I'm going to come here, I'm going to take this cell above, right? So quickly, if I just say, for example, if I say my is equals to 10, or let's another number, maybe a num is equals to 10, and I'm going to say for I in range into brackets. Now assuming this number is in that the user enter, right? So if I say I in range 1 comma num, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say print I, right? Now run this. For some reason my kernel is not running, so let's run it again. Okay, very good. Okay, so I say print I, you can see that my number is 10. So that means that if the user enters 10 and I say print I, print 1 to n, n, which is the number the user is going to enter, it's going to print 1 to 9. But that's not what we want to do. We want to check the number from 1 up to where the user entered the end from. So for this example, the user entered n. So that means obviously to add plus 1, right, for this to work, right? So if I add plus 1 here, and you can see we're going to get what 1 to 10, right? So that's why I'm adding plus 1 here. So this means that if the user enters 10, 20, we're going to check the even number from 1 up to 20. All right, very good. So right here I'm going to put my semicolon. Don't forget, after your for loop statement you put the semicolon, enter, right? And condition is very important, right? But automatically once you click Python intends work for you, so you are good to go, right? In some what's it called, it's actually it's not actually it does not indent it to at that particular moment, but I think Jupyter Notebook handles that for you, so you don't need to worry about that. But in case something's wrong and it does not indent, just try to click on tab once or space 4 times. It should be good to go, right? So now what we're doing is now we're ranging from 1 up to the number that the user entered, right? So after we have ranged from 1 to n, what we can now is we can now check for the logic, right? I'm going to say if, don't forget I give you guys here, you can use modulus to check if a number is even or odd, right? And we've done this example before in our previous lecture, right? If you don't really understand the if statement, please do well to visit the lecture. It's going to help you out, and I'm going to also link the video around here so that you can watch the else statement also. All right. So if, right, and I'm going to say if I, right, I is going to be that number that we're looping through, right? So, for example, so we're going to check if the modulus 2 is equals to 0, then it's even, and so on and so forth, right? So I'm going to say if I, because I is going to be representing each number as its loop, all right? So if I modulus 2 is equals to 0, right? Then semicolon, enter, indentation, right? I'm going to say print into parentheses. Yeah, say I'm going to use an F string actually, and I'm going to say I is even, right? Then obviously if it's not even, then it should be odd, right? Sorry, give me a minute, I'll be right back. All right, I just wanted to confirm this was working for well. All right, if it's not, if it's going to be odd, right? So I'm going to say oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to else, right? Else I'm going to print. So sometimes you might just be thinking about how to solve problem and you just write in words like that, right? You're supposed to do follow the syntax always, right? So I'm going to say else print this F string, and I'm going to say it's odd, right? As simple as ABC, right? So let's go through the code again together. So you can see that the first thing we're doing is we're saying collecting the number from the user. So user is going to enter a number, obviously. Then we are looping from 1 up to what the user enter plus, because we know that the range is not going to print everything. It's just going to print out to the number -1. So we need to add +1 just to reach that number that they entered, right? I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Then say if I modulus 2 is equals to 0, right? I'm going to print out it's a number, else it's a number. All right, so let's try it out together. So now you can see it's prompting me to enter a positive, right? And for this one I'm just going to enter 5. Enter. So you see that it shows 1 is odd, 2 is even, 3 is odd, 4 is even, 5 is odd. All right, you guys were able to this one to this question one, because to be honest it's pretty much simple and straightforward, especially if you calm down and try to understand the problem very well, you'll be good to go. All right, so let's move on to the next question. The next question is going to be building an ATM simulation, right? A simple ATM simulation, right? We're going to be using loop, if, elif, and else statement majorly. All right, so let's understand the problem together, right? So we're asked to write a Python program that simulates a very basic ATM system, right? And the first one is it sets the initial amount account to 1000, right? And plays the following menu to the user, right? So that means at first we need to assign a value which is going to be account balance to be 1000, because that's what the question is telling us to do here, right? So that's the first thing first that we need to do, right? So after that we need to the following menu to the user, right? So we say we should display come to the ATM. We're going to display check balance. We're going to also display deposits, right? We're also going to display withdraw. So and also exit, right? And I said the third one, using the while loop to keep showing the menu until it chooses to exit. So that means that we are going to be using a while loop. We're going to set it to be true. So once we do something like while true, that means that the loop is going to be running forever, like until click exit, right? So user enters exit, then we can break the loop, right? In our previous lecture we talked about break continue, so we're going to be using break also in this particular statement, in this particular problem, right? Or to solve this particular problem, right? So loop is going to run on user choose to exit. If the user clicks like 4, then the loop is going to stop, right? We'll just click the right. If else, it's going to continue running, right? So, or if the user clicks print the current balance, because obviously we'll be checking the balance, right? So if the user clicks 2, right, so obviously 1 is to check account balance. So once the user clicks 1, we're going to play the current account balance to the user. All right. Next, if the user 2, right, that's deposit, right, then we're going to ask the user, we're going to ask deposit amount, right? So that means we're going to say, okay, how much you want to add to your bank account, right? Because deposit is to basically add to your bank account, right? And once we ask for that, we're going to add it to the balance, right? That's also straightforward. And next, we're going to ask for withdrawal amount, right? And if there is enough balance, so that means we need to actually check for if the balance is like more current account balance, then obviously it should be insufficient funds, right? That's what it's trying to do here. And that's when it's to exit the program, right? Also, they told us to undo if enters an invalid option, right? We need to invalid option, please try again, right? So we need to look at this particular one also, right? So now let's go ahead to solve this. The first thing first I'm going to do, and that we have some bunch of ints right here, and the int is saying use its input, get data input, and use if, elif, and else statement and do choices, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to write what I'm going to do first, right? So the first is I'm going to try to display display the menu, right? Before I display the menu, actually, I also have going to bring this a bit. So I also have to set accounts, right? So after I've displayed the menu, I'm going to get the choice, right? So I'm using to just explain for you guys, all right? So I'm going to put that choice also, right? Then after the user choice also, then right, so we have different logic right here that we need to for, like how much you want and all of that, so, right? So once we get there, right, so let's try to set the account balance first, right? Set the account balance first, and what I'm going to do right here is I'm just going to remember that the account balance has what 1,000, right? So I'm just going to come here, right? I'm going to say balance, right? Balance is equals to what 1, right? Very, very important. So that means this is the initial balance that the user has. Any amount that you want to withdraw that is greater than this balance, obviously the transaction should go. So next thing first is we need to keep running this until the user choose to exit, right? That means we say wow, true, right? Obviously, you know, I told you that whatever is here tends to keep running. Whatever condition is here, if it's true, our loop is going to keep running unless that condition is false, or unless the while loop gets broken, right? So while true, so that means we're going to keep asking this question over and over again. Then we're going to print. We're going to print welcome, right? So welcome to my ATM, right? Or just say welcome to the ATM, just to make it generic, right? And next thing they ask us to is display this stuff, check balance and withdraw, right? So quickly I'm going to do that. I'm just going to say print, and what I can do here is I can just put a \n new line just to make sure everything is displaying well, right? And yeah, I'm also going to make it look nice. I'm going to do exclamation mark, right, just to make everything look fun. Click, right? So I'm going to say 1, right? 1 is what's check Don't forget, right? So one is to check balance with the next again, right? So two is to what? Again, two is to deposit. Two is deposit to your, right? So I'm saying print, right? And here we're gonna have three. Three is to withdraw from your account, right? You can just write withdraw whatever it is. You can just to make it more user friendly, and so the user can just understand what, right? And I'm just gonna say print. The last one we have to do here is for, which is to exit, right? So I'm gonna say print into bracket exit. I'm gonna say for, right? So now that we have this in place, we already have the menu already, right? So I'm gonna say, so you get the menu already, right? So now, after displaying new, what we need to do is towards get that choice, right? Obviously, we need to use that choice. What I'm going to say here is I'm going to say the choice. Okay, so I'm seeing that Amit is saying prompt is very important. So that's why I told you to read first, all right? So the choice is equals to input, right? And I'm going to say, please enter, or I'm just going to say, please select an option. I'm going to say into brackets 1 to 4. All right. So now if I do this, I'm going to put semicolon here, then space, just to make it more sleek, right? And now that we already have the number that the user is going to enter, so don't forget that this is going to be a right? We are not converting it to an 8. So that means if you want to check for our logic also, we need to check for a string also. All right. So now I'm going to check for the first choice, right? So I'm going to check for the first choice, right? So what is if choice is equals to 1, right? The pick one, right? But don't forget we are not converting it. As if we wrote int input, then obviously we don't need the string, right? Because the data type will be an int. But since we don't have input, whatever the user enters automatically is going to be a string. So that's why I'm putting this one. All right. Okay. 3. Network is bad. Is it from my end or from your end? Is everyone kindly confirm if you can also see my screen so I can make sure that we are getting the best out of this solution together. All right. Obviously, if choice is 1, then to print account balance. I'm just going to say print. All right. I'm going to say print. I'm going to use F string right here. Right. So I'm going to say your current balance. Current balance is, then we're going to put balance, right? ELA, and I'm just going to put $sign just to make it look aesthetically pleasing, right? So I'll say your current balance is exclamation mark then balance, right? Copy and paste here, because sometimes variable name can be funny at times. All right. I see my screen very good. You can see that we're already handling the first tick, right? So let me just remove this since we're already checking the different logics together. You can see while this is going to keep running, right? Unless we break the loop. Currently, there's nothing to break the loop. So let's just try to run it and see what we're going to have. So you can see once I print this out, you can see it's now showing select an option 1 to 4, right? So obviously we don't have 2, 3, and 4 now, but we have the first logic to check the balance. So let's try that out. If I click one, it's going to click end. So you can see it's showing me my current balance is what, $1. Because next again is running the loop, right? That means that if I enter an input, it's going to keep running, right, until I break it. But currently there's nothing to break the loop. And see right here also that it's still showing black, so it's that it's still running. So if you want to kill it, what you can do is just come here, because if you try to run this cell again while loop and it's running, so let me just show you. Let's do it together and you see what will happen, right? If I run it, you can see cell not executed due to pending inputs, right? So it's not going to execute unless we stop it. So we can come here and turn now. All right, so very good. So now that we've done the logic for 1, let's go ahead to do the logic for 2, right? Now I'm going to do it for 2, right? I'm going to say Ellie choice is equals to 2. So let me confirm. So I'm going to say elif equals to 2. What I'm going to do right here is this should enter. This should create a new tab. Oh, now I see, because once I click enter, there should be an indentation. So that means that there's something going on wrong. So that I didn't use double equals. That's why I was like, something is wrong. So now if I click enter, it's still not in there because I did not add semicolon. Obviously, semicolon. Yeah, so we're good to go. So obviously, when you're writing code and something like this comes up, you should see that something is wrong. Once I click enter, it's supposed to indent it for me automatically. So that means I'm making some. But see, I noticed that by use double equals to another semicolon. So it can happen. It can happen to you. Just make sure you pay attention when you're writing your code. All right. So say elif choice is equals to 2. Then I'm going to say deposit. Yeah, I'm just going to say undo logic to deposit account. So I'm just going to deposit underscore amount equals to I'll collect input from that. Now this time we have to convert it to an integer or a floating point number, right? But some people might want to withdraw like maybe $5.03, right? So it's better to just use it as a floating point number. I'm just going to say float, right? And I'm going to input, right? I'm going to say enter amount to deposit, right? And I'm just going to automatically put dollars to look nice. So once we enter amount to deposit, I'm going to say if. So once that, obviously what we need to do is we need to actually check the logic if the deposit amount is greater than. Obviously you can't deposit my negative number, right? So I'm going to check logic for deposit amount larger than, right? So I'm going to say if deposit, I'm going to click if deposit amount, right, is greater than 0, right? So obviously deposit the amount, right? So I'm going to say balance. My new balance will be equals to what? I can just say minus sorry, equals to, I'm going to say deposit amount, right? So obviously what I'm doing here is I'm saying that new balance will be equals to what? Enter plus the previous one I had before, right? And that print out my new balance. So print an F string right here also. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to say print, then I'm going to say dollar, and I'm going to put the amount that I deposit, right? So I'm going to say deposit, got amount, right? So I'll just say deposited, right? And I'm going to say success. Full stop. And print your account balance. So I'll say print into brackets. I'm going to use F, so I'm going to say new account, or your balance. Your balance. I'm just going to put this. I'm going to put $sign just to make it look nice. I'm going to put out the new balance, right? Right. So let's look at it together again. What are we doing? What are we doing right here? So enter touch to, so you guys can see it very well. What I'm doing here is I'm saying that in case you start to, obviously we want to deposit, and we're saying the deposit amount, we're collecting this from the user right here. You understand what we're doing right here? And we're just checking that, sorry, in case the deposit amount is less than zero, right? So that's why I like going through my code very well, because you cannot deposit my 100,000 minus $100. It's not possible. You have to that amount that is greater than zero, right? So if the deposit amount is actually greater than, yes, it's correct, sorry, if it's greater than, right, obviously without deposit, right? So what we can do is, let's just undo logic in case is less than zero, right? So obviously if the amount is not greater than zero, then it's either less than or equals to zero, right? So we'll print invalid deposit, amount, amount. So obviously if the deposit amount is less than zero or is invalid, it's going to do this. All right, so let's run our code again if the logic is working fine. We tested for 1, for if the choice is 1 is working. So now let's test for 2. All right, so here if I just click 2, then it's telling me enter. You can see it's telling me enter amount to deposit. All right, and you can see the dollar showing here, right here, and that's because I added this dollar here, right, just to make it look as aesthetically pleasing, right? So let's enter an invalid amount, let's say -8. So you can see invalid deposit amount, so that means that this logic is working fine. All right, so now let's try out for if the deposit amount is actually valid. All right, so I'm going to stop running now, stop this and run it again. So click 2, enter, and you can see right telling us that enter the amount to deposit, and let's just say we deposit $100, right? If I click enter, you can see right now that it's saying that $100 deposit successfully. Your balance is, so let's correct this balance. Where is it? Your balance, so this should be A here. So your balance is $1,100, which is correct, right? And it's asking us the next thing again to do, right? So now we've handled for check balance, deposits to your bank, and let's do for withdrawal, also that wants to exit, right? So let's undo logic. So right now let's undo logic to show the bank, right? So obviously I will say leave choice is equals to B, and I hope you guys know why we are using if, elif, right? So now this is because we have options to check, right? But in the real sense of it, we have 5. So the first one is check balance, that's if. Second one is that if. Third one, withdraw, elif. Fourth one, withdraw. Fourth one, exit, that's leave, because we have to check if the user input is 4, we need to exit. The fifth one is in case the user enters something that we don't really identify. That's what we're going to have logic, and we're not going to use else as the last one, right? So don't forget, if you have 3 statements you want to work on, if it's just 3 conditions, right? So if else, if it's 4 conditions, if else. So the logic here is just that else is always the last condition, and is to just interact with different conditions in case you have any. All right, that's why we're using right here. So now let's undo the choice for right. So obviously we need to undo the logic to withdraw from the bank. All right, so how do we do this? So the first thing is we tell the user how much. We have to ask how much we want to withdraw, obviously, right? So I'm going to say withdraw. Say withdraw underscore amount, right? So guys, we might actually spend more. We might actually spend more than 1 hour here, just to make. I'm just trying to make sure that you guys understand what I'm doing right here. So I'm going to say withdraw amount, right, to be equals to, and I'm going to say, right here, like, I'm going to say input, right here, and I'm going to say the string right here, right, and I'm going to say amount to withdraw. All right. Sorry guys. Enter the amount to withdraw first. All right. So we're going to semicolon here, dollars, right, just to make it look nice, like it right here. All right. So once we have the amount that the user wants to withdraw, what we can do is we're going to, because we need to check if the amount that you want to withdraw is actually within your account balance, and obviously we can proceed to perform the transaction. Else you can't draw $2,000 to have $1,100. It's not possible, right? We don't want that to work in our code, right? Obviously, trust I've loot the bank right now, right? So I'm going to say if the deposit amount, if the withdrawal amount rather, of the withdrawal amount, right, tab complete is greater than the balance, right? Obviously, we don't want them to loot our bank. Not some customers who come complaining to bank management team and all of that. All right. I'm going to say if withdrawal amount greater than the balance, right? So we print efficient fund, right? Else, elif the withdrawal amount. So elif the withdrawal amount is less than equals to, right? Then obviously you want to say print invalid withdraw amount. Right? So obviously you can't come to the account to a bank and say you want to withdraw minus $100, right? You have to withdraw $100, then obviously we're not going to deduct this from your balance, right? So that's what I'm trying to undo here. So if the withdrawal is less than 0, then obviously that's invalid withdrawal. All right. So now else, so that means else is going to actually satisfy all these conditions. So right here, there's a semicolon. Let me add that here, and right, I'm going to right. So else now check the logic to withdraw the account, the amount from the account. All right. So I'm just going to say balance. And you can see I'm using this balance because I'm modifying this balance variable, right? So whatever happens in this with this balance, the variable is going to get updated, right? That's one thing you should also take note of. All right. So I'm going to say balance will be equals to minus equals to the withdraw amount, right? So I'm saying balance is equals to minus the withdrawal amount, right? Click enter. Then what we need to do is just to display the amount for them to the user, right? Display the new amount at the amount visited, right? I'm going to use F string right here. I'm going to say put dollar right here also, just to make it look nice. I'm going to say withdraw. All right, th. I'll say withdraw. Right, THER. Exactly, autocomplete for me. All right. So I would say withdraw amount, right, is, I'll just say withdraw amount withdrawn, right, successfully. And yeah, what I can do right now, I can say print F string, print balance is only balance. I'll just put dollar sign and put the word balance here, right? Very good. Now if Eddie undo the logic for the withdrawal, right? So we can go ahead to test it now. But before we test it out, let's quickly just put it up and let's undo logic to exit from the ATM machine. All right. And right here, I'm going to say elif choice is equals to 4. Right, double equals to, don't forget, equals to 4. Then what we're going to do is thank you for using the ATM. Goodbye. And forget, if you want to stop running a loop, what we can use is what break statement, and we'll just say break. Now after this else, then the last condition is I'm just going to say print in case what we're trying to do is not within every of this logic, in case this is not under this first choice, second choice or fourth choice. So in case it goes to F5 or either something that is wrong, we'll just say sorry, something went wrong. Or actually say invalid option, right? You can say invalid option, please try again, right? So very good, right? So we have this logic, very interesting. So let's just quickly run through it again. What I'm trying to do right here is display the user, right? Whatever that wants to do, display to the user. Then next is check each condition. It's choice 1, display the balance, choice 2, but if it's choice 3, withdraw, and if it's going to exit from the bank. So now notice that this is still running. So currently if I click run, it's not going to work, right? Obviously, so you have to stop the first. Now we've stopped the kernel. Now go ahead to run. Very good. Let's try out all the logic that we wrote right now. All right. So first I'm going to say 1. So our account balance is currently what, $1,000. So let's try. I'll click 3, right? So 3 is not telling us enter the amount to withdraw, right? So let's say we want to withdraw $200. Very good. You can see all saying $200 withdraw successfully. Your balance is $200. It's $800, right? So if I come here and I say, okay, let me check my new account balance, you can see that also it's telling us our account balance is what, 800, which is really nice. All right. So if I say, okay, let me deposit right now to my balance, and enter the amount to deposit, right? Honestly, I'm wishing this is a real bank this is my bank. I'm going to deposit like 2 million, right? But let's just save right now. Let's just deposit 2,000 $1,000, right? Right. So currently our balance is 2,800, right? Very good. Now let's try to withdraw an amount that is bigger than our balance. To enter the our new balance is 2,800. Let's try to withdraw 3,000. Let's work. So you can see we cannot withdraw 3,000 because it's going to return insufficient funds. Our logic right here is working very right. So now that we know that it's working, let's check exit the logic, right? So if I click exit, I'm going to exit the bank. You can see and it stopped. Very good. And right here also it has stopped running. Right? That means I think it's perfectly fine. You can see it's actually very simple. It's just that it's just a lot of code to write. But if you calm down and really break steps in small chunks, then obviously you're going to. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this one in the comments. All right. So now that that's up and running, let's go ahead to our last question before we end this video. So, this challenge we're going to be doing a guessing game, right? And basically what this is about is we're going to try to build our own Python game. Let's look at the problem statements together, right? I mean, very, very important. You have to do before you start means you have to statement, else there's no way you're going to get the answer. Good. Thing first is going to go. So let me know in the comment section if you guys are actually following me. Kindly yes in the comment section, all right? And smash that like button is help the algorithm push our video out there to more users. All right, make sure you smash that like button. If you have not subscribed, please do well to subscribe also. Right. So the first thing is create a guessing game, right? Where the first condition, the computer randomly select the number between 1 to 50, right? So the user tries to guess the number. 3, if the guess is out of reach, between 1 to 50, print out of bonds. The guess game is correct, print congratulations, you get a number, right? Any guesses it took? Very good. So it's actually very interesting also. So print the number and how many guesses it took. Okay, so the next one is we actually need to check for some certain logic, right? If the first guess is within 5 numbers of the correct answer, print 1, else print. What I'm basically trying to tell us here is okay, so what I'm basically trying to tell, I can see you guys are following good, all right? What I'm trying to tell us right here is if, for example, you tell the user to guess a random number between 1 to 50. So let's assume that the number that they want to guess is 20, right? So if they try to guess like 17, right? Obviously, if you subtract 17 from the correct answer, which is 20, you should get 3, right? So you have to use ABS. ABS means absolute. So that means that even if it's a negative number, it's going to come out as a positive number, right? So if it's 3, so that means obviously 3 is less than 5. Then we're going to display 1. That means we are very, very close to the answer, right? Else is 5 is not like that to the guess number by 5. Then we're going to print code. It's like you are not really close to the number, right? That's what he's talking about. So next logic that we have to check is for the subsequent guess, right? So for example, if the user guess, so notice that they said that it's for the first guess only, right here, only the first guess. That's what we're going to check if the number is close to the correct answer, right? That's within 5 numbers answer. We have to put one more code. So that means we have to check if the length that where we're going to be storing our guesses in, if the length is greater than 1, right? If it's greater than 1, then we're going to check the logic. But if the length equals to 1, then we have to check for this war code. All right. So the next one is if the guess is close than the previous guess, print warmer. This is quite tricky. The next one is if the guess is farther than the previous guess, print colder. So that means that, for example, if the guessing number is 20 and you try to guess, like, okay, guess for your next guess, you guess 50, you guess like maybe 2, right? And your next guess again, you want to go and guess 33. That means that the guess you guess 22 is warmer than the previous one that you guessed, which is 32. Right? 2 is going to give you cold. That's what that tell us right here. All right. So, and the last one is keep looking until the user guesses correctly. Right. So we have to keep checking over and over again until the user guesses correctly. All right. So the int right is to use random.rand. I hope you guys were able to search about to generate the random number and use ABS. So let's check out what this rand is about. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to come here, Google search. I'm just going to say what is random int used for in Python. All right. So you can see random.rand int from W3 schools. Click on it, and you can see how they can use this is to do what? Import random. We're going to talk more about importing libraries and packages in our upcoming video, so just make sure you stay tuned. And next they said print random, it's rand int 3 to 9. So let's see what's going to happen here, right? So you can see right here when they run this code, basically it printed out what 8. So that means that what this does is it's return a random numbers from random integer 3 to 9. And for this example, it's returning. So let's try to run it and see what it's going to return right here. It's returning. So that means obviously the random.rand, what it does is it returns a random number or a random integer from 3 to 9. All right, very good. Now that we have that in place, let's go ahead to solve it. All right. So last thing is ABS, right? If you don't know what ABS is, I told you already. So do something like ABS is going to bring out 2 to ABS minus 2. You can see it's still going to return 2, right? So what it does is it returns absolute value, right? So that way, once we are trying to check the logic, the negative does not affect the logic we are trying to do. All right. So let's do this together. All right, you guys are following me. Very good. Awesome. Nice. All right. So first thing is to import random, just like what we see right now, right? Import random. We have to use this, right? We have to import random. Pay attention well. This challenge is actually quite tricky. So import random, and next we're going to say our number that the user is going to be trying to be guessing will be equal to random, right? Random.rand. So let's see if this is going to be autocomplete right here. Let's try it. So random.rand int, right? And I'm going to say 150, right? And let's just check out number. So you can see right here when I run number, it's returning 19. Let me run it again. 27, 6, and so on and so forth, right? Basically, you should know that it's returning a random number between 1 to 50. Now that we have that in place, let's try to print out what we're going to be working on. I'm going to say print, right? I'm going to say print to the thing game, right? Okay, so now that let's next thing, going to say print into parentheses, and right here I'm going to say I'm thinking of a number being 1 and 50. Right? Right here, I'm just saying, okay, I'm thinking of a number between 50. Then in the up, when I'm performing my logic, right, I'm going to tell them to input a guess if the guess is correct, if it satisfies the logic that I'm checking. All right. So guys, we need to keep this guess game until they guess the number correctly. All right. So what I can do is I can say, wow, true. But before we go true, actually, we need to have a place where we're going to put our guessing numbers that the user are guessing, right? Or our guesses rather. So I'm going to say this is be equals to, I'm going to say parentheses right here. So now what happen is guess be a list where it's going to be storing guesses that the user is actually testing out, right? So for example, guess 1, right? 1 added to the list. And how do we add an item to the list? We use what? I want to drop it in the comment section. How do we add an item to the list? So I'm going to be waiting for you guys because I know the network is like kind of slow. All right. So just tell me, drop your answer in the comment section. You go ahead to add a particular value, a list item, right? So right, but just know that this guess will be storing all the that the user is entering. All right, and we're going to be adding it as guessing, right? So I'm going to say, all right, sorry, I'm going to say guess is equal to int. I'm going to say right here, I'm going to say input. I'm going to say enter your guess. So obviously it's going to print welcome to guessing game. I'm thinking of between 1 to 50, right? And now we have to start checking the condition, right? So this one is just to take the user guess. All right. So after I've taken the user guess, what we're going to do next is we're going to say we're going to actually, okay, very good. I mean, that's giving us the answer, right? You use the append to add numbers to a list. So well done, all right? So I'm going to say we have to check if the guess is out of bound, right? Because first we want the user to be guessing a number that is not within 1 to 50. If not, keep guessing forever, right? So obviously we're going to say if guess is less than 1 or the guess, right, is greater than 50, right? So basically I taught you guys about and or operator, right? The or operator is used to basically check if it's one of the condition, right? So let me see if we still have the notes right here. Did we treat our statement? It is greater than okay, let's perhaps this cell. So we talked about numbers. I'm sure we talked about an or statement in a particular lecture. I'm going to leave this. I don't need to save my for loop. But if it was in this talked about and or statement, it was in another lecture. Maybe it was in comparison operators, right? Oh, look at it right here. We talked about and or statement. So that means up the record YouTube. I'm going to also attach the link somewhere around so you can watch that video if you don't understand the lecture very well, because it's very important in this particular lecture, right? So we've talked about and statement, so let's continue. So revisit the video if you don't understand that particular statement. All right. So I'm saying that if the guess, so obviously it should give me an indent automatically, right? So I'm saying that if the guess is less than 1 or the guess is greater than 50, then obviously we're going to print what they ask us to do here. What? Let's come here, follow the instruction. So print what? Out of, that's the third one that we need to check, right? So print out of bounds, right? That's the first thing that we need to check, right? Now that we've done that, what we can do is we can just tell them to continue guessing, right? So remember what continue statement does, right? It's going to continue the loop. At the bit was break, and that means stop guessing, right? So, but we don't want to break it. We have to continue, because that's what the question said here, right? To print out, right? Out rather, right? So now that's that aside. Now if the guess is not less than 1 or greater than 50, then we can now go ahead to add the guess to our list, right? So we can now say guess. What did I name it here? Guesses. Copy it and paste. Very good, right? Because sometimes you might spell it wrongly, so that's why I like copying and paste my variable, right? So I'm going to say guess dot append, right, into brackets, and I'm going to append the guess, which is what the user is right here, something that here, right? So now appending the guess, obviously we need to also check for other logics, right? So now what's the next that we need to check for? The logic that we're going to be checking for, we need to check if guess is correct, right? Obviously, if the guess the number correctly, they want to display congratulations, they've guessed the number correctly, right? So if guess is equals to the number, right? So obviously, if the enter is equals to the random number that we're picking, then we're going to say print. I'm going to use f string, right? Congratulations, you guessed the number. Don't forget that we're told to what out the amount of guesses it took them, right? So obviously we know the total amount of guesses that it took them. Obviously it's going to be the total length of what will be the list, right? So we can just dot length option to that, right? So I'm going to say you got the this, and I'm going to put curly brace right here, because we're writing a break now. I'm going to say length of what guesses, right? Copy this again and paste this right here, right? So length of guesses, right? Get right. So obviously, if the guess equals to the number, then we're going to print congratulations, you guessed the number in the length of guesses, right? So you know what, let's try to run our program and let's see what's happening here without us implementing this other swarm code or warmer code, and you see how basically difficult, not really difficult, but how long it's for us to guess the number correctly, right? Because obviously when we're getting number, there's no an int if we're closer or if we're farther from the number, right? If this, it's going to tell me enter a guess. I'm going to say 1. You can see it's going to keep telling me enter a guess 2. And to be honest, I don't even know if I'm closer to the guess or if I'm farther from the guess. I'm going to keep guessing. 4, 5. So 55, I didn't mistake 55, and you see out of bounds, right? And it's continuing. So that That's a good one right there. So 5, still not correct. 6, I don't even know the number to guess. It's a lot, right? Because we have to take 50 trials, right? 50 random trials and get this correctly, right? So I'm not even going to waste my time to guess this. Let's just try to perform the other logics. So going to know how close and how far that we are once we are guessing. All right. All right. Very good. So yeah, Rashid is append, not add. Rashid is append. Yeah, very good. So let's implement the logic right now. So first thing, let's go back to understand what we're trying to do. So what we're trying to do next is, if the first guess, if it is the first guess, right? If it's the first guess and it's within 5 numbers of the correct guess, it's what and else print. So let's do this first. All right. So let's check if. Obviously, how do we know if it is the first guess? Then that means the total length of that list should just be, it's only one guess that is. So say if length of what guesses, right? If length of guesses is equals to 1, right? If it's first guess, then obviously I'm going to check if what ABS, which is the what absolute value of what guess minus number, right, is less than or equals to what 5, right? So obviously, if the guess that user tries to guess at the first layer is less than or equal to 5, right, then that means what? That's what they get, right? Print warm, print warm, right? So I'm going to print into brackets warm. That means the person is very, very close to answer, right? Else, obviously, that means closer is not 5, it's not within 5 range from the guess state 2 and the actual number. So I'm going to say else, I'm going to say print, right, code, right? So that means that it's still like farther from like before, right? So now now that we've checked that logic, now the last logic that we need to check is what? And coda, right? And this also is quite tricky. Just pay attention very well, right? So let me write this here, comments for this. So let me the comments right here, so that in case you're going to the notebook, you're going to understand what's going on. All right. So I'm going to say first guess logic, right? And right here, I'm going to say else check if it's easy first guess and compare comparison operator Rashid. Okay, and compare. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm following you guys with the comments so that I don't miss out on anything. All right. Check if it isn't the first guess and compare with previous, right? So what they're trying to tell us is, if for example the user is guessing a number, right? So the user guess like 10. So let's say the number, let's show that the guess equals to 20, and the first guess use guess 25. Then obviously, if it's the first guess, so let me just write first guess here. That means if it's the first guess and guess enters 25, that means it should print out 1, right? But if it is not the first guess, right, and it's not within 5 from the actual guess, this 25 is 5 range within the guess, which is 20. That means obviously it's going to print out code, warm rather, then that means you are close to guess number, right? But in case for the second guess right now, for the second guess, for this guess, so in the user does that one is it's not going to calculate, right? Calculate that, okay. We have to check if the previous guess, which is current guess that the person took. So let's say the person took 30, so that's 30 to be 30 minus so don't forget we're going to use absolutes here. So it'll be 30 minus the current, which is what? 20. This is the second, this is the logic that we want to implement now. So if 30 minus 20, right, is less than what? ABS of what? Of the previous guess. So the previous guess is what? 25 right now. So how do we access 25 in the list? Obviously, the previous guess will be what? Will be -2 index, right? So it will be -1 instead of -1, which is the last index. The previous guess will be what? -2. So we cannot absolute of the guesses, right? Then we'll just say -2, right? So -2. So if that previous guess, which is 25, which is in a nutshell, which is what? 25. So 25, right, minus what? The number which we're trying, which is what? 20. That's what that means. Here we're going to get what? 10, right, is less than what? 5. So it's 10 less than 5. False. That means we're going to get cold and colder, rather. You can see colder, and it's actually making sense because obviously, if we guess 25, which is closer to 20, then we're now going to go and guess 30, which is farther from 20. We should get colder. That's what's going to happen. So I'm just trying to explain the logic for you guys, all right? So that. So let me just leave it there so you can understand what I was trying to explain right there, right? So let's write the logic right now, right? So this is just an example, right? E.g. So now let's write the logic, right? It's going to be if what? ABS else what? Else we're going to check if what? ABS then guess minus number, right, is less than ABS into brackets guesses. Yeah, but that's the second index, like what we -2 minus number. Yeah, right? So what I try to do is I try to check if the negative amount, so obviously we're going to get positive value back. So if the guess minus the number, right? So the guess is basically what we just guessed, right? And minus the number, which is the actual guess, right? The number, which is the actual guess, is less than the previous guess, which is taking the negative from the index number that we added to the list, right? Minus number. Then what they say we should print out, you need to print out warmer, right? So I'm going to say print into parentheses print warmer, right? Then else I'm going to what? Print colder, right? So obviously it's going here tab, right? Very good. So just to explain again, obviously if the guess is equals to 1, then we have to check for this logic right here, right? Warm or cold. I hope you guys understand this one already, all right? So after we actually need to check for if the previous is more closer to the current guess and display warmer or colder based on those conditions. All right. So now let's try to run our code right now. So you can see that currently it's still running. That's not. So what we can do is you can stop right here. Once you click stop, it will kill the cat and we can just run it again. All right. So now let's go. It says to the guess game. I'm thinking of a number between 1 to 50. Now we don't know the number, right? So let's just guess. Say 30. So you can see telling us that it's code. So that means obviously 30 is not -5 closer to the current number at all, right? So let's try 40. So you say 40 is warmer, right? So that means we are getting close to the answer. So if I say 41, it's saying warmer, so that's above 40. If I do something like 40 again, you can see colder. 39, you can see colder. That means they are going away from the answer, right? So that means it is within 1 upward, right? So let's do 5 warmer, right? Let's do 46 colder. So that means answer should be within 42, right? 42 colder, right? So let's say 43 warmer, 44. Right, you can see that 44 we got the answer correctly, right? So obviously we knew that as we were guessing, and we guessed that the number was between 30 cold, 40 warmer, 41 warmer, but 40 was colder. Then that means that our number is actually greater than 41, not less than 41. That's why I changed my guess to 45. 46 was now colder. Then change to 42 was colder. That means we are far away from the answer than 46, right? That means that obviously it should be closer around 43 to 44. And so that was how we went about 43. And we said warmer, that means we were closer, and 44 actually get the number correctly. So you can see, congrats, you guessed the number in length of guess, which is this is displaying length of guess, right? So that means let's fix this. And also, once the user gets the number, we are supposed to end the loop, right? So right here, we're going to fix that. Once the user gets the number, we're going to come here and we'll just say break. And lastly, let's fix this f string. Here we're supposed to use curly braces, not thesis, right? Very good. So let's run this again. Let's stop it, and we should have our code up and running, right? Okay. So you say guess the number, not right now. Numbers together, right? You can let's guess. Let's see. I like starting with 35. 35 is code, right? That means it's not plus or -5 greater to the number, right? So let's say that warmer, right? So that means our closer. Let's 20. It immediately. How a good guesser, right? So you can see congratulations, you guess the number in 3 guesses, right? So you guys try it out to actually guess the game, and let's see if you are going to guess. Let me know the number of guesses you actually try it out in the comment section, and let me know if you can beat my record. This in just 3 tryouts, right? So now I think it's no more good. It should be congratulations. Right, congratulations. Very good. So currently, if you are able to follow me and also solve this along with me, congratulations, you have been able to implement some advanced Python logic, which is working with while statement and for loop. You worked with a logic of how to draw, how to test it, how to discount balance ATM machine, and also successfully built your Python first game, right? Which is really, really awesome, and it's something that you can actually go ahead to add to your portfolio, especially if you are a beginner and you are looking for it. So it's something you should definitely look out for to add to your GitHub, so that you can see what you have done before when you were learning Python. All right. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. To be honest, I want to rush it, but I gave it a second thought because you guys have to actually understand what I'm teaching, right? Because if you do not understand what I'm teaching, obviously there's no point of me explaining right? So that's why I went ahead to count to explain all of it together. I hope you guys got everything that we did in this lecture. Um, so I'm gonna put the code right very soon, right? So after this lecture, I'm going to go ahead to push the code, and it's going to be up and running. Right? So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, please help to smash that like button. Comment in the comment section types of video you want me to make, and also comment if you were able to solve all question correctly following the video. With that said, that'll be the end of this video. I'll see you guys in our next lecture.